Greetings, metaphysicians. This is episode 179, Health Repair. This is all about the health repair process. It is a 12-minute meditation, if you will, in which the angels arrive and help you with your specific health needs. There is a moment where you can actually ask for the exact help that you want from them and then receive it. Hope you enjoy the episode.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show. The statements and advice offered in this podcast are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition, and are not substitutes for prudent medical care offered by licensed medical professionals. References to healing or treatments in this episode are describing faith-based blessings performed by God and the master healing angels. Neither this episode nor any part of it may be copied, transcribed, distorted, sold, republished, or distributed without first receiving the express written permission of both the CMA International Foundation and Up and Awaken Productions.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical podcast. I'm your host, Renata Maniaci. Here to remind you, you are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth. Enjoy it. This is Season 8, Angelic Reformation, and this is episode 179, Health Repair. This season is all about the body of knowledge known as Angelic Reformation, as well as a look at each of its tools. Angelic Reformation is what we call the tools, processes, and rapid spiritual development work that has been presented through the teacher, Master John Douglas, by his companions, the Master Angels. It is about the intentional evolution of your consciousness without the use or necessity of outside substances or other interventions. It is a set of spiritual development tools that anyone can choose to use alongside any existing spiritual practice, religion, or tradition, if desired. I'm doing a whole season on this topic because the purpose of this podcast, in part, is to encourage a deeper understanding of the invisible and unseen world that affects us just as intimately as the visible and seen aspects, if not more. After 9 years of using the tools of Angelic Reformation, I have found that each one has helped me gain a deeper and truer understanding of the unseen and unknown influences affecting me all the time and affecting us all the time, be they energetic, karmic, microbial, parasitic, demonic, angelic, or otherwise. If you have not yet listened to the first 2 episodes for this season, please go ahead and listen to episode 168, Angelic Reformation, and episode 169, The Evolution of Consciousness, before listening into this one. Now, if you are ready, then let's get meta. Master Angels, I humbly request your presence, guidance, and support through this episode. Please help these words to be useful to all listeners on their evolutionary journey. Let me know the truth, speak the truth, become the truth, and be the truth. And please let this episode reach whoever needs to hear it. Thank you with full faith. Bless creation. As I've stated, today we are talking about the health repair process. And just to remind everyone, a process in this context is an MP3, kind of like an audio meditation. There are currently 15 processes in the array of tools that make up Angelic Reformation, ranging in length from 3 minutes to just over an hour. Here is the description of the 12-minute health repair process direct from the website where it can be purchased at globalcma.org. The intent of this process is to facilitate direct interaction with the master angels for their assistance and blessings. The angelic assistance is most effective when used in conjunction with other processes from the master angels, such as spirit repair, soul repair, and karmic repair. Purchase of this process also includes access to Master John's talk on this process called A Guide to Health Repair Directed Prayer Teleseminar. And just to remind everyone, we do have episodes already out on spirit repair and soul repair, and we will be having one of our next few episodes come out be on karmic repair, the karmic repair process, so you can learn about that one shortly. And health repair is a really unique process in the sense that there's only two processes where at this time that you are asked specifically to work on whatever you want to work on, and you are to specifically make a request for that within the context, within the length of the process itself. The other one is psychological repair. What that means is sometime in the course of this process, you will be asked to either out loud or in your mind state what you would like specifically to be worked on, which is pretty cool. And another amazing thing about this process is that it is so short. It's only 12 minutes. It feels like a lot less than that. And for me, it's one of the most beautiful auditorily. I just really love the music that's in the background. I almost always have trouble staying awake during it, which you need to do if you want to ask for specific help for this process. But I find it just really lovely and beautiful to listen to in general. So before I share a few of my own experiences with the health repair process, I'm going to take this time to play a few testimonials from people who use this process regularly.
Hello, I'm Deborah, and I live in Boone, North Carolina. I've been using angelic reformation tools since 2016, and today I'd like to share an experience I had with the health repair process. Last year, my 82-year-old mother fell and severely dislocated and fractured her right shoulder and arm. In the first weeks, when she was experiencing severe swelling and multiple hematomas, she had sustained pain levels that would often reach, 9 or 10. At one point in the hospital, she was nearly in a panic attack, trying to control the pain and navigate it. I asked her if she'd like to listen to Master John, and through her closed eyes and grimacing and her panic, she said yes. Within just a few moments of my mom reciting along with the prayers, I saw her pulse and her blood pressure on the monitors start to return to normal rates, and her breathing started to deepen and slow. We continued to play health repair preventatively, and anytime her pain would surge. It was an absolute miracle to see how the invocation of the Master Angels and Master John's voice and his love, how all of those things helped my mother transcend her pain and navigate it much more seamlessly and comfortably.
Hi, my name is Jan, and I'm from Long Beach, California, and I've been using the tools of Master John Douglas and the Master Angels for about 12 years. I'd like to share my experience with the Health Repair CD. The thing I love about Health Repair is that it comes with an amazing prompt where I can use directed prayer through the Master Angels for whatever I might need. Recently, I had oral surgery and, well, it was quite painful. I could tell that my bones of my jaw, my nerves, and my gums were inflamed. So while I was laying there on my pain medication, I listened to Health Repair process and asked the Master Angels to please mitigate swelling, trauma, and pain in my jaw, gums, and nerves. And guess what? I was able to sleep comfortably, and by the next day, I was able to stop using my pain medication. I'm continuing my healing process and using Health Repair daily. I'm very grateful for this amazing tool, this literal miracle on demand.
Hi, my name is Heather, and I live here in North Carolina with my sweetheart Joe. And I wanted to take a moment and share some of my personal experiences as well as that of my family after using the Angelic Reformation Health Repair process for the last 12 years, which is amazing and unfathomable to think about how many miracles have actually I am just so blessed to receive and extend those miracles to my family as well, with such gratitude for the Master Angels and Master John. The largest, the most amazing miracle that is just the most exquisite blessing is that my mother, with continual use of the Health Repair process that I encourage her to use after every doctor visit, every chemotherapy session, every immunotherapy session. My mother was diagnosed with cancer a year and a half ago, and she is now, there are no signs of metastases in her body, which is a miracle on so many levels. And the maintenance of her health, it is so apparent to me that her journey would have been so worse off if she was not listening to the Health Repair and using the tools that she has throughout her journey. It is extraordinary, and I am forever, ever grateful for her continued health journey and her overall healing. I use the Health Repair process so frequently. I go to bed and wake up with the Health Repair process. And I can tell you from someone who has persistent discomfort in her knee and ankles that I play the repair, I have the discs, and I wake up and my joints are ready to go again. It's just extraordinary. And those are just a few of just more than a decade of copious amounts of blessings and miracles from using the Health Repair process. I would never leave home without it. It is extraordinary, and I am so grateful.
And another big thank you to Deborah, Jan, and Heather for sharing their experiences with us today. And a little shout out to Jan. Jan has been invaluable in helping me wrangle testimonials from people. And I don't mean wrangle in a stressful way. It's just that there's a lot of people who use these tools spread out all over the world. And it has been invaluable to have Jan's help because she knows all these people and is closer to several groups of people. And I know other people, and everyone has been amazing in helping me with this project. But Jan herself has been a practitioner, as you heard, of these tools, these angelic reformation tools, for about 12 years now. And so, like me and several others that you hear from, has testimonials for every single tool. And so we'll often jump in and share her beautiful experiences as well. So we've heard from her a few times throughout the podcast season, while also gathering experiences far and wide from people across the United States and the world. So a huge thank you to her again. And I also wanted to mention this quality that came out in some of these testimonials that we just heard. And that is a feeling or knowing for these folks that listening to this process helped in some way. Them just knowing that there was a positive change in either themselves or their family members or whoever was listening to this process, without there necessarily being an utter scientific type proof, such as a change denoted in a blood test or other material way of assessment. Though, if you are interested in those types of things and that type of quantifiable proof as I am interested in those things, there are plenty of those testimonials too. And a really beautiful way to see those testimonials is to read this series called Medical Miracles by Dr. Richard Sarnet. This is a medical doctor who uses angelic reformation tools and has for almost 20 years now. He has written 3 books with another one on the way that are specifically testimonials of very scientifically and test-driven and proven results from using angelic reformation tools to huge extent. Cancer patients, Lyme disease folks, and other chronic and other big type illnesses. So if you are someone who is interested in that and likes to see more earthly material proof, and again, I am one of those people. I have all of these books. I have actually had Dr. Richard Sarnet on this podcast before back in season 4, the first season that I did about Master John Douglas, and this body of knowledge was called The Season of Miracles. Season 4, if you're interested in going back, but there's a great episode with him discussing medical miracles. I think he only had 1 book out back then, maybe 2 at that time. That was 5 years ago now. Anyways, that's all to say that I, like many of you, do enjoy the scientific type proof of these more spiritual tools being integrated with our current and traditional medical systems, and having that kind of validation, that kind of affirmation. I appreciate that. And at the same time, I also truly honor and appreciate the knowing, the feeling, your own qualitative experience of having a shift, having a change, having pain go from a 10 to a 1, having felt like you were about to throw up 5 minutes ago, and then you're halfway through listening to this process and you no longer have the urge to throw up. Having had a bruise that was dark and black and definitely should have been there for the next 3 weeks healing, and then the next morning, after keeping a body repair disc on it and maybe listening to health repair, it's all but gone. So, there's plenty of these experiences, maybe even more, most of these experiences that happen with health repair or any of these other angelic reformation tools that will never be scientifically documented because of a plethora of reasons, but mostly because many of us are so used to using these and getting results, we just have incorporated them into our lives and our daily needs, and just live our lives and don't shout about it, even if we feel like we want to. So yes, there are ways to explore the more technical, the more documented scientific type proof if you are one of those people and want to understand deeper and more and scientifically how these angelic reformation tools have truly changed people in a way that is visible in test results and the like. And for those people, again, I highly recommend looking up Medical Miracles by Dr. Richard Sarnet. Medical doctor, written 3, maybe 4 books at this time on this topic with from the same body of knowledge, angelic reformation. And my testimonials, a lot of the ones that I'm gathering from folks here on the podcast, a lot of them are personal. They're qualitative. I love both quantitative and qualitative research. If anybody knows me personally, you know that. And a lot of these are just that. They know that something changed. And I'm going to tell you a story about that right now. So one of the experiences when I think about the health repair process that comes to me right away is when I was in Hawaii back in 2019. I think I was there in January or February, and a friend had flown out to be there for a week with me. We were on, which island were we on at this time? We were on Kauai, and unfortunately, it was the first day that she arrived, and we went for a hike, and it had rained, and we got all the way up to the top of this beautiful hike. It was gorgeous. I have a picture of us there at the top, and then we were walking down, and we were going slowly because it was slippery, but she was a bit ahead of me. We're about half the way down, and she fell, and she broke her wrist. And she knew right away, I knew right away, it looked mangled. It was not a happy visual. And so with the help of some locals and I believe some assistance from some EMS folks, we got her down the mountain safely. And at that point, it was a horse apiece to put her in the ambulance or put her in my car. We were going to get to the hospital at the same time. So I took her, and she was settled down enough. So I'm driving to the hospital, and she knew that I listened to Master John. She had been curious and had known, a bit about the tools that I used. And I asked her if I could throw on health repair. And she said, of course, yes, do that. And so I said, okay, at the point where you say what you need help with, obviously talk about your wrist in your head out loud, whatever you want to do. So we're on the way to the emergency room. We listened to health repair. As I said, it's a quick process. It's only 12 minutes long. So we get done with the process, and we're still on the way to the hospital. And she said right after that, she said, I asked about my wrist. Of course, that is what I asked for help with during the process. But I had been feeling the beginnings of a UTI, a urinary tract infection, starting to happen today and yesterday. And I don't feel that anymore. I felt during that process that left. So that's area number one from listening to this health repair process just one time. She did not use the time to ask for help with the UTI. She was using the time to ask for help with her very broken wrist and was in a lot of pain. But she was conscious enough to recognize that through that process, her UTI was healed. It never manifested fully, and she felt that it went away. Then we get to the hospital. And by the time we get there and she gets seen and I have to say, I saw her wrist. I have pictures of it. It looked jangled. It looked mangy. Whatever those words are, it didn't look good. Okay. We thought for sure she would need surgery. It didn't look good. Okay. Now, by the time she gets seen and we get to the hospital and look at the wrist again, and the doctor's looking at the wrist, it looks completely different. Now, it is broken, but it didn't have weird things poking out all over like we both saw when it happened. And it turns out that it was a clean break. She did not need surgery for it, nor did she need pins or anything like that afterwards. So something happened in between breaking the wrist and getting to the emergency room, wherein the situation, it's not like she broke her wrist and then suddenly it wasn't broken. That didn't happen. But it went from looking really, really bad to it being, if you are going to break your wrist, if you have that karma, if you are going to break your wrist because that is what your life path calls for at this moment, because you need to be the person who has gone through having that experience on this trajectory in this lifetime on this planet, it was the best possible scenario for her to have broken her wrist. Okay. So that, I could go deeper into that, but that is the gist of one plane of the health repair process. And both of us, even though she is not an adherent to this, I don't believe that she's ever continued to listen to any of this or use any of these angelic reformation tools. She knows that it helped her. I know that it helped her. We both knew that, saw it, understood it, felt it, experienced it, whatever you want to say. So that is the one that I always go to for health repair for me. In other experiences, unlike Heather in our testimonials, who so lovingly said, I end my day with this, I start my day with this, like health repair is one of her primary processes, right? And that's beautiful. Everyone has their different tools that they use in this practice, right? So unlike Heather, I typically use the health repair process retroactively, meaning something will happen and then I will think to use it. I usually do not use the health repair process proactively, and maybe I should. There are certain health areas about the body and other areas that, like, I probably could use this proactively and do some research on it and see if it helps those issues. But at the moment, I'm kind of like, I have a stomach ache, I have an injury, let's use health repair. And for me, I almost always feel a positive difference, whether the thing is gone completely or whether the pain or discomfort or whatever it is lessened. It's almost never nothing. And if it is nothing, if I don't feel any difference whatsoever, I know for me that that's something that I need to endure for whatever reason. Karmically, that's on my path right now. But that is rare. It is very rare that I use this process and don't feel some kind of better. And again, this transformation and change is brought about by listening to a 12-minute process. You are simply pressing play and listening. It's almost too easy. This is a compact, time-bound spiritual technology given to us by the Master Angels through the teacher, Master John Douglas, and it is available to anyone. Like every other process, health repair costs $150. It never stops working. It is continually added to and updated when appropriate by the Master Angels without needing to purchase another. Like I mentioned before, purchasing this process also includes a link to a more in-depth talk called A Guide to Health Repair Directed Prayer Teleseminar, explaining the process and what it does, which I very highly recommend listening to. Master John is the living conduit bringing these spiritual technologies from the Master Angels into physical form. So there is truly no better person to hear from regarding the proper use of these tools. I am going to leave it there for today. We will continue with another Angelic Reformation MP3 process in our next episode. If you are interested in looking into these tools or finding out more, visit globalcma.org. This is not a journey for everyone, but it is available to anyone interested. And why do I say that? Why do I say that it's not a journey for everyone? It's just to reiterate that this is one path of many. No one in this practice goes door to door looking for new adherents. This is something that is meant for people to stumble upon at the right moment for them. Even doing this season of the podcast is not something that was needed and definitely not something that was asked for by the leaders in this practice, but rather something that I personally felt called to share. Use your own discernment. If this is calling to you, there's probably a reason that your soul knows better than your human mind can. Either way, as always, thank you for listening. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up, and Awaken production and is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. The Let's Get Meta podcast is inspired by angels and supported by angels. If you would like to be a patron angel of the podcast, visit patreon.com/letsgetmeta. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.